Earlier today, U.S. News & World Report announced its list of America's best leaders, and one of those leaders is Dr. Eboo Patel. The 33-year-old Chicagoan is also one of President Obama's advisors on faith. In 1998, he founded the Interfaith Youth Core, which holds its annual conference this weekend in Evanston. Eboo Patel, welcome back to Chicago Tonight.
Thanks, Phil. Good to be with you.
Okay, your group is holding an upcoming conference on interfaith youth work. What is the mission of your group? Right. You've been on before, but remind us.
Sure. So in a world that is very religiously diverse, in which people from different religious backgrounds are interacting with greater frequency than ever before, is that religious diversity going to equal religious conflict, or is it going to equal interfaith cooperation? The goal of the Interfaith Youth Core is to inspire and resource and nurture a generation of interfaith leaders who can take religious diversity and make it interfaith cooperation.
Give me some examples of the things you do to accomplish that.
So we have a huge push on college campuses. We think college campuses should be models of interfaith cooperation, the way that many college campuses are models of multiculturalism or environmental sustainability today. So, for example, we think that students at college campuses should be challenged to stand up against religious bigotry and religious prejudice. We think that students at college campuses should aspire to be the kind of people who can bring their fellow students who are Buddhist and Hindu, who are Christian and Muslim, who are Jewish and secular humanists together in service projects, interfaith Habitat for Humanity builds, interfaith tutoring programs that serve others.
Your group has had this Interfaith Youth Core that you started. The growth of it has been pretty impressive. Give us an idea of your growth curve.
Right. Well, when we hosted our first conference 7 years ago at the University of Chicago, it drew 30 people. This year, our conference at the Center for Civic Engagement at Northwestern University is going to draw over 600. And these are exceptional students from everywhere from Stanford and Yale to colleges right here in Chicago. I think we've got student representation from just about every campus in Chicago. It includes people who are chaplains at college campuses. It includes policy leaders from the White House. We view a major movement growing, and the Interfaith Youth Core at Northwestern University are proud to be at the center of it.
Now, this gathering, is it primarily for people from within this country, or is it international?
No, we have delegations coming from 8 or 10 different countries. A delegation from India that's coming, a delegation from the United Kingdom, a delegation from Pakistan. Obviously, issues of religious diversity, conflict, and interfaith cooperation are relevant around the world. And the Interfaith Youth Core has been working actually on 6 continents to train and network interfaith leaders. And a lot of those people will be with us on Sunday to Tuesday.
Is the whole issue of interfaith conflict more an issue overseas than it is in the United States? Because one likes to think of the United States as being fairly tolerant.
Right. Well, I think that that's the United States at its best, and I certainly think that's part of the founding of the United States, but we don't always live up to that ideal. And I'll give you an example of it. The Whisper campaign about Barack Obama being a Muslim, for example. What was wrong with being a Muslim, Phil? What's wrong that Barack Obama's grandfather was a Muslim? The implication of that kind of a campaign was a Muslim should be disqualified somehow from running for the presidency of the United States. And it took Colin Powell 18 months. It took a great American leader 18 months to come out publicly and say, if a 7-year-old Muslim child in America wants to be president, I think that's what America's all about. Piece of what the Interfaith Youth Core is trying to do is to say, just as we would have stood up to racial prejudice or gender bigotry, we should be standing up to that kind of religious prejudice.
You are only 33 years old. What in your background led you to this work?
It's first of all my faith and my country. Is within Islam, I think, is a requirement to build interfaith cooperation. There's a great line in the Holy Quran, Surah 49, that God made us different nations and tribes so we may come to know one another. And as you were saying earlier, I think America is a country that prides itself on being a place where people from all over the world come, from different communities, and they build a nation together. And I think of what President Obama said in his inaugural address on January 20th, 2009. America's patchwork heritage is a strength, not a weakness. We are a nation of Christians and Muslims, Jews and Hindus, and non-believers. I want to make that vision a reality.
You've written that your own transformation was prompted by an instance of personal failure. Tell me what that was.
That's right. Well, my friends in high school included a Nigerian evangelical, a Cuban Jew, a South Indian Hindu, a Mormon, a Lutheran, and a Catholic. We were literally an interfaith...
Sounds like a setup for a joke.
Right. Well, we were an interfaith cooperation group amongst ourselves, but we never talked about religion. And what that meant is we forfeited the territory to folks who would talk about religion negatively. And for a period of time, a group of thugs in my high school went after my Jewish friend. And I'm embarrassed to say I didn't stand up for him. I failed in that regard as an American and as a Muslim. And when
Why do you say as a Muslim you failed?
Because in Islam, I believe it is a command to do righteous deeds. It is a command to, as God says of the Prophet Muhammad, that he was sent to be nothing but a special mercy upon all the worlds. And I failed to be a mercy to my Jewish friend. And I want to make sure that young people are introduced to the idea that their religious conviction should be a bridge of cooperation and not a barrier of division or a bubble that hides them away.
It seems like, based on what you're telling me in terms of your organization's growth, that this is a message that is resonating with college students.
Absolutely.
Beyond that, is it resonating in the larger population, do you think?
I hope so. I think so. I think that my appearance on this show tonight is an indication of that, and certainly U.S. News and World Peace is an indication. What we are doing, Phil, is putting out into the culture a new identity category. That identity category is interfaith leader. An interfaith leader is somebody with the inspiration, the knowledge base, and the skill set to turn religious diversity into interfaith cooperation. And I think 80-year-olds can be interfaith leaders, and 8-year-olds can be interfaith leaders. The Interfaith Youth Core has a particular focus on college campuses, but gosh, do we hope other people are a part of this in different ways. And we hope that folks look at our work and say, we want to invest in what the Interfaith Youth Core is doing because we think we want the next generation to be interfaith leaders.
You are on the President's Faith Council. What does the President's Faith Council do?
Well, the President, in a meeting with us in the Oval Office in February, gave us a charge, focus on poverty issues, focus on family issues, and one of the dimensions was to focus on interfaith issues. This President, whenever he mentions religion, talks about interfaith cooperation. In his renowned address in Cairo in June of this year, he spoke of building bridges of service between different religious communities. My role in the Faith Council is to really help operationalize that presidential priority. And I have to say, one can look at President Obama as an interfaith leader, and he started right here in Chicago. When he was a community organizer, the groups that he was looking to organize were Protestant and Catholic churches, Muslim communities, and Jewish leaders. Right? Here's an interfaith leader who's become president and recognizes that the 21st century is going to be shaped by the question, will people from different religious backgrounds be in conflict with each other or in cooperation with each other?
Dr. Eboo Patel, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And if folks are more interested, they can check us out at www.ifyc.org. Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome. And back in a moment with Time Out Chicago's weekend restaurant recommendations, so stick around.